Bloodborne is an old game. By the time this video is released, it will officially be over 10 years old. I remember when this game originally released in 2015, and that makes me feel old, decrepit, balding, flesh rotting in my chair as we speak. Still, I love this game, and I decided to honour its 10-year anniversary with a fresh run from start to finish. I needed another reason to do it though, and since I started this run on March 7th, I needed that reason to still be achievable in less than a month. I may be a gamer, but I'm not Logos Jr. or any other masochist, so what's it going to be? I've used basically every single main weapon in this game, most being perfectly reliable weapons when you build for them. However, I've always had a raging disgust for the state driver. Pathetic range, underwhelming damage, and a mediocre moveset justified only by one big gimmick move, which will take all of your stamina and often miss an enemy right in front of you. I hate this thing. But as a seasoned Bloodborne enthusiast, I decided I was going to give it a shot this one last time. Could I use this weapon to defeat every single boss in the main game and DLC before the game was 10 years old? No Chalice dungeon bosses, but all of the other bosses were compulsory. Could it be done? Well, here's how I did. Bring forth Decadus, the man of the night who will be the one to slay them all. If you're new to Bloodborne, here's a basic rundown of the premise. You are a sick, sick man, and you need help. You find a cure for your affliction and the healing blood, but the price is that you must spend the night fighting for your life in the cruel, disgusting world of London. There are beasts to slay, men to mash, and pigs to fist, and you are just the man for all of those things. First things first, I run as quickly as I can through the town to unlock shortcuts and checkpoints. This was, at first, a speedrun to get to my weapon of choice as quickly as possible. Only 2 enemies really need to be fought before that happens, with one being the first boss of the game, Father Gascan. Since I don't have the state driver yet, I picked up and leveled the Sword Cleaver, a much better weapon, and cut him down with that. Along with the combined power of burny stuff and burning stuff, the man-turned-beast is roasted with only 1 death. Don't worry though, we haven't seen the last of good old Gascan yet. With that done, there's only one more barrier between me and the weapon, which is the man currently holding that weapon, Juro. He's down in the old, forgotten catacombs of old London, full of even grubbier knobs than usual. We have a heated discussion about the merits of slaughtering beasts, a discussion held with bullets. He fires his minigun from the top of the roof at me, and in turn, I climb up and give my rebuttal in pistol form. Juro loses the argument, and I get my weapon. I upgrade the state driver to +3 by this point and give it some rudimentary gems to boost its damage further. The real run can begin. But what's my first boss with this weapon? Why, no other than the great filtering flapper, Blood-Starved Beast. I say this because, for a new player or an early game build, this guy can be very unforgiving. How unforgiving? The kind where you can make a single mistake halfway through the fight and die instantly. Even without poison, which gets applied in a single attack most of the time, this boss does a lot of damage, with plenty of my attempts failing due to me being overly greedy or just picking the wrong moment to do anything. Still, there are ways to make this boss less annoying, which I demonstrate in my successful run. In the first phase, there are 2 moves which can be interrupted with a gunshot for big damage, basically every time you see them. Look for those and avoid everything else. In the second phase, where he can poison you and start doing other moves, go for fewer interrupts and focus on counterattacks, preferably with fire. If you get poisoned, pick a good time to use an antidote or just heal through it. Trying to clear it at the wrong time will just get you killed. In the final phase, you will get poisoned, so just heal through it and pick good times to attack. Honourable mention goes to the distracting power of blood cocktails, which allow you to safely get damage in with a real weapon. However, the state driver is a joke weapon with the range of a gerbil's penis, so I don't end up relying on them that much. Now that the beast is dead, a new area opens up in the cathedral ward and I can start making my way to new places and bosses. The first thing I do is get to the tower that leads to the upper cathedral ward, then work my way down to the lowest levels. This allows me to open up the gates which lead to the next main boss, Vicar Amelia. But I don't go to fight her yet. Instead, I make my way over to the left and to Hemwick Charnel Lane, where I can fight the witches. The reason for this is that they have access to the Rune Hunters tool, which basically allows me to wear this game's equivalent of rings in Dark Souls, passive, swappable upgrades to my character. There are some of these runes lying around in this place, and I try to go grab one by the lakeside. The dogs, however, had other plans. Plans which involved swarming me and giving very unfriendly bites to my every part. I leave it alone for the time being and just fight the boss instead. The boss is, as we call it in the business, a gimmick fight. You don't fight the witches at first, but they spawn in these very aggressive and tanky enemies to defend them. The witches themselves are completely transparent, until you stumble upon them. I say witches, because there are actually two of them, and the best way to deal with them in a stage is to bring both of their health bars down as low as you can before you kill one. I don't show it here, but they have a funny little trick they play if you fail to kill them both together. I go for backstabs over and over until the main one is low on HP. Then I find the other. You can tell when you hit them which one it is. Do this until the second one is dead, then finish off the other. Simple as that. Rune 2 acquired. My next stop is to pay a visit to the local village of Yardi Ha, which unfortunately means taking a ride in Mr. Creepy Uncle's happy sack. He stuffs me in a cell and, in a stroke of genius, forgets to lock the door. This is because, quite frankly, he doesn't need to. Just one of these guys can dunk you from across the room if you mess around too much. I'm not really interested in picking too much up from this place, so I run up to the boss of this area, the great dank beast known as Parl. This is one of the rare situations where, while still being worse than the Sword Cleaver, the state driver has something of an advantage. This boss's biggest weakness is limb damage. Each limb has a separate health bar which upon depletion will stun Parl and make him collapse. It also removes his lightning buff, and he turns into a big old coward. Abuse the hell out of this with high burst damage, and Parl is basically on the floor for half of the fight. He's still a dangerous boss this early on, but by no means as oppressive as the Bloodstarved Beast. Parl is down for the count, and off my list. From this point on, I only have one goal in mind. Get as powerful as I can, as quickly as possible. That means rushing through the main content in the game to unlock the late game locations immediately, leaving all the side content for when I'm done. First things first, it's death for the furry vicar. I already opened up the path to reach her, so I simply run up the steps and walk through the front door. As for the fight itself, it makes for an excellent argument for why beast blood pellets are insane. For the uninformed, beasthood is a mechanic where you deal more damage, and take more damage, the more beasthood you have. There are only a few ways to get this, one of which is the pellet, and you need to build it up with consecutive attacks. This is normally quite slow, but transform attacks generate more beasthood than usual. Guess which weapon has a really fast chain of transform attacks? That's right, the Sword Cleaver, also the state driver. The next stop is running all the way down from the cathedral to the dank, dark forest known as the Forbidden Woods. It's full of scary things such as skeletons, snakes, snake people, and of course more pigs to fist. There's also a Ned Kelly wannabe, who exists to give you a multiplayer covenant and be insane. Another thing I do before I fight the boss is take a side road to visit Yosefka's place right at the start of the game, mainly to pick up an invitation to a fancy castle party. The boss for the forest is 3 nasty dudes in cloaks, which looks worse than it is. My answer to this unfair conundrum? Shoot and visceral attack the aggressive melee one over and over again. Repeat until their death, and don't get surrounded. Then, pick the other sword user and do this simple trick. Press R1 and then walk into him. Do this again and again the moment they even think of doing an animation that isn't dodging. Proceed to the next and repeat. Not even 2 minutes are gone, and all 3 are dead in one go. Not a problem. What was a problem, and more of a problem than I expected, was Bergenworth. The first problem was a nasty little alien man that sucked my brain out. He touched me in a bad way, so I touched him right back. The second, more troubling problem was the appearance of this demon up the stairs. She was by far one of the most dangerous hunter NPCs you're likely to face in a normal run, at least this early, and she has an array of spells that will just destroy you on contact. That's if she doesn't just smack you with her cane or spray you with gas. My successful run employed a very simple strategy. R1 spam in her face until I run out of stamina, preferably backing her into a wall. Shoot her constantly, while I wait for it to fill back up, hoping for a visceral attack. If unsure, keep shooting. Repeat until either she dies or I die, which thankfully didn't happen this time. I reach the balcony and find an old man in a rocking chair. He points to the edge and tells me to jump off it. Insulted, I murder him on the spot. Then I follow his advice, which doesn't actually kill me. Instead it leads to the boss, who is normally not too difficult to face. However, I got dunked on several times. The strategy is simple, either you kill all of the ads the boss spawns and then face the boss, or ignore them and kill the boss anyway. I wanted to do the latter, being used to just deleting their health bar with the fine help of best blood pellets and bolt paper. This time though, it just made me careless and I got my ass kicked. Spiders dunked on me, the boss flailed about and dunked on me, spiders hit me through the boss and dunked on me. Humbled, I resorted to just clearing out the spiders first. Clearly my old wrinkly hands and rotting brain cells aren't doing me any favours. One thing I do capitalise on is that when Rom summons the pillars, it's a free chance to just swing, because the pillars won't hit you when you're cuddling up Older's body. Eventually Rom does die and I can move on. I also took the time earlier to visit a funny old place that looks awfully familiar. It's down below the tower near the cathedral ward, and it contains two important items. The most important is fashion. The next, an edible tentacle, but I'll get into that much later. I return to Yardi Ha Ha, but things aren't how I left them. The place is packed with blood-soaked brutes, crazy bell ladies, things with too many arms, things with too many legs, and things with too many, well, too many of everything really. Some shenanigans are going down, that's for sure. But this place is especially important because now I can get the materials I need to almost fully upgrade my weapon. It also offers me some fine blood gems and keys to new places, all of which will be important in the near and far future. There is also a nasty encounter with 3 nasty dudes, who are each as dangerous as the Bergenwerth blaster from earlier. My advice is to first sneak behind the one on the staircase by going around from the left, getting as much damage on him as possible before the others catch on. Then you run back through the area you should have cleared beforehand, kiting them until only one is willing to chase you down. Apply poison knives directly to their foreheads and bring their HP down to 0. Do not take on more than one at once, or you will be in for a very not fun time. The same rule as earlier applies. R1 spam when they have stamina, shoot when don't, shoot when unsure. Easy games. Using the Bath-based transportation system, I make my way down to the streets to see what all the fuss is about. The fuss, apparently, is all about making the moon poop out a big, sloppy pile of corpses with a dude raving on top. There isn't all that much to explain about this fight. Before anything, I go upstairs to murder the ladies, because otherwise they'll throw fireballs at me and heal the boss. When that's done, I pop some best blood pellets and go to town on the boss's backside. The boss can still be dangerous to me, especially with the extra damage taken, but it's not enough to be a major problem, and the damage buff is way too strong to pass up. He's down in one take. From there, I touch a funny-looking dude in a funny-looking hat and wind up back in school. School is for nerds, though, so I don't stay too long. I enter a weird portal into the first nightmare realm of the run, and also the penultimate area of the main game. Climbing up the tower to fight the next boss is an ordeal, requiring me to dodge bleating hare beasts, huge spiders, dog birds, bird dogs, and even gardeners. There are no shortages of other dangers either, forcing me to take a few extra runs through to get it right. I persevere anyway, and end up face to face with the man, the myth, the meme himself, Mikolash Cage. This fight can get annoying if you don't know the layout, but the aim is to get Mikolash stuck in certain rooms. He'll always run away from you, so use that to lead him in the direction you want him to go. Once that's done, just don't get hit and spam R1 on his face, or R2 if you're feeling fancy. He can still dish out a lot of damage if you're careless though, so don't get greedy, like I did, or you will get hentai'd in the face. Eventually, I finish him off. The next step, since I'm not fighting the next boss yet, is to get the blood rock I need to completely upgrade my weapon. The problem, of course, is that to do so, I need to cross this bridge. It's a bridge which is guarded by one of the most horrifying monsters in the game, the Winter Lanterns. These demonic things will grab you with their massive appendix and eat out your face, while also making it explode from frenzy. They will cause you to frenzy just from looking at you, which will also explode your face. This can continue even after they are dead, so there really is no escape from the pain. Just numb your senses and hope for the best. Having done that, I drop the big annoying brain of frenzy that was harassing me earlier into a pit of poo and failure, before finally getting the last piece of the puzzle I need, the blood rock. Now my weapon is +10, and I'm ready to do some cleanup. However, this will all have to wait for the next part. Tune in next time for some boss rushing, DLC delving, and of course, peak fashion displays. I'll see you in the next one.